All right, welcome to Conversations That Matter podcast. My name is John Harris, and I'm pleased to have with me today Matthew Garnett. Matthew, thank you for joining me for this discussion.
Sure.
You are the individual, and I knew this was you when this was happening, but you write for the Federalist, and you put out an article after Resolution 9 that kind of went viral. And you analyzed it. I thought you did a fantastic job, but I want to analyze some things that happened this week in the convention. And before we get started on that, though, tell us just a little bit about yourself. I know you write for the Federalist, but what else do you do? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find our work at laymanstermsradio.org. That's my podcast in layman's terms, and we've been following this story really since the MLK 50 and Together for the Gospel conference. You know, where this all kind of started snowballing, and just found it astonishing because my background is both. I have a foot in the evangelical world where I really was, brought into the church through the Southern Baptist, which I'm grateful for. I was baptized there, and then got into ministry really in that realm of evangelicalism, and then really fell away from the faith and went into more of the liberal mainstream iterations of the church in America, where I learned all about postmodern critical theory, liberation theology, and then this MLK 50 thing hit, and especially the Together for the Gospel conference, not this past year, but the year before, where this was really a hot topic. And I came across this and I was like, it just struck me. And I said, something really nefarious is going on here. So I started following it, started writing articles about it in the Federalist. And I'm just really astonished at the involvement, the attempt to incorporate some of these ideas that I learned at Claremont that I know are putting the best construction I can on it, disingenuous. They really are. They're not means by which to help anybody but to further a political agenda. So really my background is what brought me into this whole conversation. I'm a Lutheran now. I'm an Orthodox conservative liturgical Lutheran in the LCMS. I don't have a dog in this fight or anything else, but it was really amazing to see Southern Baptists, especially Reformed Southern Baptists, start to go this route. So I started to investigate, and that's really where we are today.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to get your take on this, because you are coming at this as someone who writes for the Federalist. So you're coming at it from a political direction, but someone who understands neo-Orthodox theology and postmodernism and some of these things that are driving the social justice movement. And so I always think it's great to get, well, not always, but it's usually great to get an outside perspective on something. So Now, the people who support me and my work in this regard haven't heard from me in a few weeks. And so we're going to have a little fun for just a minute.
Sure.
I was on vacation. I was actually doing a combination of things. I was on a few different trips. But one of the things last week was my wife and I went to California. And I don't know if you knew this. I'm actually from California. I'm from Los Angeles originally. Though I grew up in upstate New York, and now I'm on an undisclosed location in a bunker in the American South, the impending doom. Anyway, I just wanted to share. So for those who support me, this is these are the nice pictures. I'm going to blow this up so people can see a little better. We went to the Shasta area. That's the Shasta Dam in the bottom left, and then top left is the hike we did in Lassen National Park to the peak, and then that's Bernie Falls on the right, all Northern California, all beautiful. And I don't know, Matthew, have you been to California?
I have. I used to live there, actually. Yep.
Oh, where did you live?
Right. Well, that was L.A., Orange County area. That's where Claremont School of Theology is.
That's right.
Yep. And so we were there for about 3 years, and I got to study theology on the hairy left edge of Methodism. So, yeah.
Right on. So California is an absolutely beautiful state run by absolutely crazy people.
Right. That's right.
And,
Yep.
and so here's the thing I was gonna share. And did you ever go to San Francisco when you were there, or?
We did. Yeah. Now this was about a decade ago, and San Francisco was great then. It was beautiful. Everything was, in pretty good shape, but looks like, holy cow, what the heck is that?
Yeah. So this is the rental car that we had, and
Oh no.
we parked around. It was near Chinatown, but we were parked next to a bank. It seemed like a fairly secure area, and yeah. So we're not used to this being where we're from now, and where California's changed. I'll put it that way. But my wife, I think she kind of put her bag like under the front of the seat, like a carry-on bag. And it had her purse in it. And so someone just smashed the window, stole the purse. And that was our first day of vacation. And that put a little bit of a damper on things. But I was going to say this, I was explaining to her a little bit because I had heard some things about San Francisco and kind of what's going on there lately with the homeless problem and everything else.
Right.
And since I had been through there before, but since I had been through there, they've raised the minimum wage it's like $15 an hour now. Right. I mean, taxes are out of control. The gasoline I was paying, I think, I'm trying to remember now, it was like close to $4 a gallon.
Good grief.
I know. The radio, when we were coming into San Francisco, there was a story that someone had stolen a, quote, assault rifle, some criminal from a police vehicle. And so some local politician was saying, we need to have legislation to make sure that police don't have those kinds of weapons so that criminals can't steal them. That was the common sense that we heard as we drove in. And I was just thinking, I don't want to be in this place. But the homelessness is out of control. It's just the nice areas of town. People are defecating in the streets, and we saw this. And so that's I said, we got to learn the lesson well. This is the brave new world. Yeah. This is what's happening. And we want to keep the rest of the country from being California if we can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. No, good grief. That's unbelievable.
I know. I just, but anyway, some beautiful parts of California still, if you want to go there, just make sure you have a ton of cash to pay for gas.
Right. Right.
So switching gears now, let's get into the thick of it. This is what happened. That's what happened to me. This is what happened this week, though. If you can see that, there's a documentary by Founders Ministries called By What Standard, and a trailer was released. I think it was Tuesday of this week. Did you see this, Matthew?
I did. Yeah, I did watch the trailer.
What did you think?
I thought it was relatively inoffensive, just, a documentary that I think is very needed with the Southern Baptists right now to just really come out and warn folks about what they're getting themselves into, because I interviewed Pastor Tom Buck for my Federalist piece, and we both agreed that the overwhelming majority of Southern Baptists are really ignorant when it comes to what critical theory is, what's behind it, what drives it, and where it eventually leads, which is those pictures you showed me of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was fairly innocuous, but then all of a sudden I'm in an argument with somebody on Twitter by the name of Melissa Moore, I think was her name. And unbeknownst to me, that's Beth Moore's daughter. And got into it with a couple of folks over why, because I was just asking, what's offensive about this? Because I was curious when I saw this kind of come across my feed. I was like, is the documentary out? Because there was all this criticism about it, and finally I got the information. Oh no, it was just the trailer. And I said, the trailer. I said, do you have a link to the trailer? And the people on this thread wouldn't link. We're not linking to the trailer. So I had to go dig up the trailer for myself and watch the trailer. And I'm kind of like, okay, this just sounds like, common people who have some background in this, just trying to inform other Southern Baptists about what's going on. I can't really see what the big brouhaha over a trailer would be. And I just saw no personal attacks, no calling out of any certain individuals, and I guess evidently Melissa was really frustrated because she felt like it was personally attacking her mom. And I just didn't see that. I didn't see it personally attacking anybody. What I saw was something that was trying to inform fellow Southern Baptists about what was being, kind of put forth and promulgated as something useful in the Southern Baptist Convention, when in fact it is very, very dangerous.
Right.
And so I'm in full support. I've never seen Pastor Askell or Pastor Buck or anybody associated with Founders slander or besmirch anybody's name. They are not attacking. I've never seen them attack people, and that's really what the sticky mess I got myself in on Twitter a couple of days ago was people were saying, well, Founders, has always gone, they're going after, Beth Moore, they're going after this person, they're going after that person. And I just said, show me some evidence of that. And that's when, you get radio silence, is when you ask for evidence. So
I watched it, and it seemed to me that there was kind of a distinction between good guys and bad guys. Like they put a kind of a dark, I don't know, some filter on the film, or they edited it to show, okay, these are the guys that, and Beth Moore was one of them, that it seemed like, okay, she's maybe not one of the good guys forwarding this bad theology, which is true. But Al Mohler was portrayed as a good guy. I was thinking that some of the guys that have been criticized for at best allowing social justice to continue on their seminary campuses or promoting it, that they were going to kind of get a pass. That's what I thought. It might be that. I mean, none of us have seen this documentary though, so who knows? Right. It's just a trailer. But the very fact that it seemed to be negative about these ideas and attaching these ideas like critical race theory, intersectionality, and so forth to individuals who are actually forwarding these ideas, that was a bridge too far. And I don't know if you saw this, but here was the reaction from the top. Well, these are the 4 seminary presidents in the SBC, and it almost looks coordinated. I mean, it was kind of like all around the same time they reacted to this documentary that they were all featured in. And it's just their words. It's just them being interviewed, their words. And I'm going to read some clips from this. Al Mohler says that some respected SBC leaders were represented in a way that alarmed him, and that he wants something that's respectful and honest. So he's saying this is disrespectful and dishonest, is what he's saying. Jason Keith Allen at Midwestern. This is uncharitable and unhelpful. We need to engage with clarity and charity. So they didn't do that at Founders. Danny Aiken had a full statement. He doesn't want to be included in this film. Kind of the same thing. Adam Greenway, same thing. And all 4 have this narrative that this is divisive. This is unnecessarily dividing Southern Baptists, and Founders is to blame for this. And so what did you, I don't know if you saw these, but now you do. What do you think of that argument that's being put out there by these elites in the Southern Baptist Convention, that this is divisive and that's why it needs to be shut down?
Well, I got to admit, I'm taken off guard by, especially Dr. Mohler's tweet. That's what has concerned me from the beginning of this whole thing. Was, where's Dr. Mohler going to fall on this? And it seemed like with his comments about Resolution 9 on the briefing following the convention, it looked like, okay, they're gonna be okay. Dr. Mohler's going to hold this together. But then I see that tweet, and I don't even know. I just don't have the words because if a man like Dr. Mohler can't come down on this with clarity and understand that something needs to be said about this forthrightly, I just don't. I'm very, very concerned. And again, I'm a Lutheran, but I'm concerned. I'm in some ways, I'm very concerned about my own denominations in many respects that don't have anything to do with the topic we're discussing now. But I'm very concerned about the Roman Catholics with their sex scandals. Whether we want to admit it or not, conservative Catholics are allies. up until we start talking about salvation. But when we're talking about
social issues
health,
and so forth, yeah,
right, the health and well-being of our country, homosexual or Roman Catholics are our allies, and Southern Baptists, same thing. And what is happening is the Roman Catholics are going down over the sex scandal, and the Southern Baptists are not only plagued by a sex scandal, but now this, and we can't get the iconic conservative leader of the Southern Baptists, which is Dr. Al Mohler, to come down on this and say, this is my position right now, here and now. And it sounds from that tweet, it sounds like he's condemning the founders' video based on a trailer, which is that makes zero sense to me. Wait for the documentary to come out,
right?
But yet here he is condemning it in a tweet. Can you read that tweet one more time?
Yes, folks. Well, it was a series of, there was like 3 of them, but the relevant information in the first one. Yes, folks, I have now seen the Founders Ministry video trailer, and I am alarmed at how some respected SBC leaders are represented. Southern Baptists expect and deserve a respectful and honest exchange of ideas. I'm convinced we are capable of this. So that's what he said.
Yeah. And that's, so I just don't know what to say about that.
One of the things that occurred to me is that, you've had MLK 50, you've had Revoice, and Revoice, by the way, the guy who organized that was, he was I don't know if he was an adjunct, or I think he was an adjunct, but he was teaching at Southern, and he was a graduate of Southern, right. Nate Collins. And, so you've had that, you've had Chandler going, he was in a media video saying how those who voted for Trump in the SBC, he said negative things about them. I could go on and on about all the weird social justice stuff that's gone on in the SBC. And it seems like Al Mohler hasn't said much about much of it, silence. But then this 2-minute trailer that, it's not even the movie, it's just the trailer. It's like, boom, the wagons are circled. And I think that's the alarming thing. It's what they said is alarming. I'm using his word, alarming. But what the reaction, the imbalance of the reaction, that we're going to react to this stuff, the conservatives, so strongly, but we're going to let the left get away with all kinds of crazy things, and we're not going to say much about it.
Right.
And that just, critical race theory, intersectionality are by nature divisive. That's what they are. They divide humans into categories. And then to claim that Founders is being divisive when you've not said really hardly anything about these ideologies making inroads, that's weird to me. It seems like hypocritical. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. It reminds me of how Twitter bans people. Twitter, if you don't, and to use a Soviet line, if you don't toe the party line on Twitter, you're going to be banned. But if you're in an argument with someone who's a man who's claiming to be a woman, and you're calling them out on that, we saw that with Lindsay Shepherd here this past week. I'm not sure if anybody's
I'm not familiar with that one. No.
Yeah. So anyway, she's a Canadian activist.
Yes. I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. And so this man was brutalizing her. So you had this man, calling Lindsay Shepherd, who's a woman, all of these terrible things on Twitter. And yet when she calls him out for being a man, she's the one that gets banned. See? And that's the thing I see going on here, is that it's like, on one side of it has all this latitude, and on the other side, any little misstep. So even if some of that trailer kind of marked out good guys and bad guys, which I did not perceive. I watched the trailer; it seemed perfectly innocent to me. Just, hey, it's a documentary trailer. Hey, we're going to put this out, folks. Get ready to watch it. And for all this stuff to blow up over a trailer. It's like, wait a second. All these assumptions being made about the motives of Pastor Askell and Founders Ministry putting out this documentary before they've even seen it, assigning all of this, again. So we Lutherans, we call, well, it's the Protestant ninth commandment, but it's our eighth commandment. You shall not bear false testimony. And Martin Luther defines that as putting the best construction on your interlocutor's argument. That is to say, you look at your opponent's argument and you say, okay, what is he really? So this whole idea of steel manning was invented by Martin Luther. To say that we're going to look at the other side's argument, and we're going to try to say, hey, what is the real intention behind their argument, and what are they trying to do here? And none of that was done with this trailer. It was just a bunch of assumptions. It was a bunch of blame assigning. And for Dr. Mohler to participate in this is extremely disappointing, because I admire him, and I've always liked him, and that was shocking. I didn't know about that tweet. So
yeah, you're like many of us, we feel either confused, disheartened. I put out a tweet that I was just like, I can't see how to defend him, because it just seems like you have to be on the other side of the social justice debate, or at least running cover for them, if that's the way you're going to react to this. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about the ninth commandment of the SBC, or not the ninth. We just talked about the ninth, the 11th commandment, we call it, right?
Right.
11th commandment.
Yep.
Thou shalt not criticize a Southern Baptist. And there was a guy on Facebook, or Twitter rather, he's probably on Facebook too, Trey Mays, who has a blog at truthdispatch.com. And he wrote this whole thing on Matthew 23. And he talks about kind of how the SBC elites, in his mind, are characterized by Matthew 23. And I'm not going to read his whole Twitter thread. He has like 3 reasons for it. But one of the things that stood out to me was this 11th commandment. And he says that, I'll just read this for you. He says, liberalism has an 11th commandment, which is the unwritten rule that unbiblically imposes on people within the same religious tribe an effeminate silence to maintain the respectability in the chief seats at the conferences, denominations, and local churches. And he quotes Matthew 23:6. It effectively states, thou shalt not criticize.
And they love the place of honor, peace, and the best seats in the synagogue. Is that the verse?
Yeah, they love the place of honor, banquets, chief seats in the synagogues, respectful greetings in the marketplace, and be called rabbi by men. So Trey Mays is trying to make this connection and say that is what was going on in the elites and their reaction to this. And I remember when I was at Southeastern, I remember going through a situation there, and I opened my Bible to Matthew 23, and I read that passage, and it came to life for me. And I thought, this is exactly what we're dealing with. This is the good old boys club. This is, we want unity that does not hurt our position. We don't want criticism because it will hurt our position. We want the money coming from the pews and the money coming from leftist organizations. We want book deals. We don't want the media to run a hit piece on us.
Yep.
So that's kind of the attitude I saw. And this was underground mostly. This just wasn't talked about. And I think this week is so pivotal because it went public. Everyone can see now. You dare to step out of line a little bit and criticize, even if it's slight, the hammer will come down on you. Right. So I don't know if the Lutheran Church has an 11th commandment like that, but the SBC.
No. Lutherans. Well, we have kind of the opposite problem. We have more. And this is one of my issues that I spend time confessing to the Lord. Is the breaking of the 8th commandment, 9th commandment. Not slandering people, because Lutherans fight. We are known for fighting.
Oh, just like Martin Luther.
Yeah, right. Yep, absolutely. So we have different problems, but we still have our problems. Again, that is really something that you put the SBC 11th commandment in that category, because it's a situation where and maybe this is a stretch, because what always connects things for me with just popular evangelicalism in general, and especially with the SBC, having experienced them to an extent when I was in college, what is this whole idea of synergism? So in other words, we in order to win people to Christ, we have to appeal to the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if the convention is moving in a direction that is popular with the culture, a la this, this social justice warrior movement, critical theory, even though again, I completely agree with Pastor Buck that 99% of people don't have a clue what this is. But if it's going to make us look good in the eyes of the media, if it's going to bring people, into our church, if it's going to have them darken the door of our thresholds, then let's do it. And plus that, I am convinced there's this collective guilt in the SBC that wants to atone for its own sin. Of racism. Yeah. And you just cannot do that. And that's the thing that gets me in the most trouble with my friends like Kyle J. Howard when I talk about, is there forgiveness here? And, and then that gets placed in the categories, oh, well, you just want to forget history. No, we don't want to forget history. We just realize we cannot atone for our own sins. We need the Lord Jesus Christ to come down and be born from a poor virgin into this world, live, teach, die, be crucified and rise from the dead in order to atone from sin. We cannot atone for our own sin.
Amen.
And that's the thing that I feel like is being asked of denominations like the Southern Baptist Convention, is to atone for their own sin. And so when anything about race comes up, and when you have a black man getting up and presenting a resolution where he is affirming something like critical race theory as an analytical tool, then of course the convention is going to vote overwhelmingly for something like that, because they are trying to redeem they're doing two things. They're trying to look attractive to the world so they have converts. And that's based on, I am convinced, a synergistic Pelagianism. And then B, they're trying to atone for their own sin. And neither one of those things is biblical orthodoxy, and this is bad stuff. I mean, I've seen the SBC go through a lot. I'm just thinking this might be it, especially with a guy like Al Mohler kind of just hanging out on the sidelines, doing what he's doing, vacillating back and forth between who knows what here. So
yeah,
anyway.
I agree. I think you're right. I think that there's this push that you just described, and the Founders Ministries kind of said, well, wait a minute, we're not on board with that. And we'd like to educate pastors and pew sitters about the theological ramifications of this, and boom, no bueno. Like, don't go there. And that it's done at that point. It's just done. If you can't have even a respected person like Tom Askell, who's been respected for years in the SBC, step out of line a little bit, then I don't see how you take the convention back. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Now, one final thing I wanted to go through here. This is kind of, can you see that? Hold on. There we go. At Union Seminary tweet, social justice is not extra. Social justice is the gospel. And that was yesterday, but today that's kind of been the talk of the town, and on Twitter. And I was curious, just for my own sake. I said, you know what? I'm just wondering how many people actually believe this, that social justice is the gospel. Like they're literally the same thing, or included. Like they're so close that you can't separate the two. And so I just did a search. It only took me like 15, 20 minutes on Twitter. I just typed in social justice is the gospel. Here's what I came up with, and I'm not going to read all of these, but we got people from all over the world, interdenominational, Catholics, Protestants of various stripes, saying pretty much that exact phrase. Social justice is the gospel. And I mean, you can even just freeze the screen if you're watching and start reading these tweets from different people, some of them laymen, some of them more in the leadership. Here, some of them, guy on the left, I believe, runs a podcast, some of the, different levels of influence, but all saying that social justice movement, it's woven into the gospel. Those, I mean, here's one from a guy that's saying that people who don't believe that are on the wrong side of history and judgment. So they're saying that some of these people are saying we have a different gospel. They're admitting it. Here's one. I'm going to read this quote. Social justice is not the totality of the gospel, but the gospel. So he's saying social justice is the gospel. Without a commitment to neighbor, mercy, justice, and the common good, aka social justice, is not a faithful gospel. And there's Dwight McKissick, who's a prominent pastor in the Southern Baptist Convention, saying amen. Amen.
Wow.
Here's another. There's I believe she's from Australia, a reverend, I'm not sure what denomination, but saying the same thing. She's a follower of the gospel of love, which is social justice. If social justice threatens your gospel, you don't have the gospel. And so I'm just like, this is only from like, not even, I mean, that the oldest one probably here is from May. But it's just like, first, second page. I guess I probably went to the second page of Twitter just to pull these things out when I searched that. And so I wanted to sort of, I'm working towards the point I'm going to make, and I want to get your reaction, but this is the last thing here. So this is the provost at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, where Al Mohler is the president, Matt Hall. And this is an article a few years ago he put out, but he said, here's a quote. This is after one of the police shootings. He said, "We desperately need churches to see what Christ would require of us when we see black boys and men gunned down in ways that bear evidence of a racialized double standard in our communities. Here's the thing. Reconciliation is the center of the gospel." And so what he's saying there, I'm just going to interpret real quick, because the whole article is just white people this, white people that. This is how white people think. And he makes this argument for racial reconciliation as he defines it. And he's saying that that's part of the gospel. You have to, that is the gospel. His version of racial reconciliation, which is part of social justice, that is the gospel. Al Mohler is on the campus with this guy. I don't remember seeing Al Mohler. I mean, I couldn't find anything where Al Mohler is contradicting this narrative, saying anything against it. He's not, these guys apparently aren't divisive in the minds of the elites in the Southern Baptist Convention. It's only the guys like Haskell who are divisive. And here's the key thing I want to get your reaction to and see if you agree with me. Social justice movement and our movement, which biblical justice, I guess. Some people call it the social justice Contras, but these two movements have different gospels. And it's not me who's saying it. It's everyone I just quoted. They're all saying that you don't have the gospel unless you have social justice. You have to have that. So if that's an essential element, then you are admitting the other side is saying you don't have the gospel. We don't. So if that's true, they started a division, because this is a new movement in the Southern Baptist Convention and in Christianity as a whole. They started a movement that is dividing people, and none of these elites in the convention spoke up against it that I can tell. Right. But immediately when someone says, hold on, that's divisive, we need to get back to the gospel. And that's what I think Haskell was trying to do. There's a true unity around by what standard, the title, the God, his word. It's hammer them. That is so revealing when you look at it through that perspective. What do you think about what I'm telling you right now?
No, you're spot on, because that's how the postmodern sleight of hand works. It introduces things that seem to be congruent with something, a particular platter upon which postmodern lies can be served is by twisting scripture and making it mean basically whatever you want it to mean. At the end of the day, that's what postmodernism does. That's what post-structural literary criticism does. It says the author has no say in this thing. The only person that has the say in what a text means is what the subject says the text means. And so when you apply that to Holy Scripture, and when you elevate one's lived experience, and this is postmodern lingo, lived experience above reality, and you overlay that on something like Holy Scripture, and then you deliver it on that platter, you make it sound good to a denomination that is guilt-ridden by their past racism, who's trying to redeem itself while all looking good to the public. That's precisely what's happening here, and that's what's happening to the SBC. And I don't know where Mohler stands on this. I mean, he's a smart man, but what's he going to do? Is he going to come out again? So this notion of who is actually being divisive here is precisely the issue, because when you introduce this sort of thing and then somebody pushes back against it, and then they're labeled as the bad guys, that is the postmodern move, because what Haskell and founders and men like Tom Buck, you, me, what we're being labeled as is racists, right? You are essentially telling us that we're breaking the fifth commandment, the sixth commandment. We're murderers because we hate our brother in his heart just because of his skin color. That's what we are, because we stand against this sort of thing. And so they've played this thing beautifully, and I don't think I don't know. I think you guys are sunk.
You have some like room in the Lutheran Church for
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Baptists.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to believe in the efficaciousness of the sacraments. That's the only problem. Well, but that's the thing. That's the thing that ultimately attracted me to the Lutheran faith was the sacraments. But that we could talk about.
Yeah. So I mean, we would have theological differences, and that might. But the thing is, this is so fundamental, and we both can see it. We're both in different denominations, and we can see that this would destroy any version of Christianity out there. Forget about even Christianity, Christendom. I mean, I'm including Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, and it just destroys any of it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm convinced people don't get, or they want to ignore. What I don't know what it is, but listen, when I was at Claremont, don't think that mainline denominations or people that go to liberal seminaries like Union or Claremont or anywhere else are out there trying to promote a, quote, true version of Christianity.
Right.
That is not their agenda. Their agenda is to destroy Christianity.
Right.
They are on a seek and destroy mission, and they are using the tools of post structuralism, postmodernism to destroy Christianity. That is their aim. And so when denominations start importing these things, thinking that, they're just analytical tools, that just blows my mind. That is not the agenda of these people. Furthermore, what really breaks my heart about this entire thing, and I told Melissa Moore this, and she didn't respond, but I said, what really breaks my heart about this whole thing is that you guys have driven this thing into a philosophical discussion, all while boys without fathers in Chicago are shooting themselves.
Yeah.
That's what breaks my heart about all this. And you guys are acting like you've got the moral high ground and all this. No, it's incredibly frustrating, because that's the thing is that's what made me want to be a liberal, is because I thought they had more compassion. And then when I got in there and found out that it's not about taking that poor boy without a father and teaching him the ways of manhood and teaching him the path of Christ and lifting him out of poverty, when I learned that's not what it was about, that those people are really just pawns in this whole game, that's when I was like, no, I'm done with this. I've got to find something else to do. And that's exactly what's going on here. That is what critical theory is not meant to do anything for anybody other than forward a political agenda. And that's what's being missed here. It's not going to help anybody. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point. Yeah, it's happening in all denominations, and I'm glad you're keeping an eye on it and trying to hold the fort down on the Federalist and the Lutheran Church and your website in layman's terms, right? In
layman's terms, in layman's terms radio.org. Yep.
So maybe you have some info now if you want to do a Federalist article about this latest development.
I may have to. I didn't know Al Mohler tweeted that. Is that still up?
Yeah. You can go find it. I mean, it's not just those are just the four guys that I thought we'll focus on. It's like tons of SBC entities are getting the long knives out, and so it's quite the blow up. May even be bigger than Resolution 9, to be quite honest with you. It's just very revealing, because it's exposed the 11th commandment to everyone, and we can see exactly what's going on. So, but keep holding down the fort. Let's lighten the mood here. I know we.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a personal question. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food.
You're on vacation right now. You can eat. I'm on vacation,
and we're getting ready to go out and eat Cajun.
Oh, Cajun food. You're in Texas, right? So Cajun food.
We're in Texas. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're down here. We're in the bayou, more or less. We're in Houston. So, my favorite food would probably be a toss-up between, a nice platter of crab legs and a gigantic bowl of crawfish. I'm into shellfish. So I wouldn't have survived as an ethnic Jew very long.
I hope you get some barbecue while you're down there too.
Oh, and barbecue's great too. I mean, there's just I love food. Let's just just rank it up there. I always tell Jen, tell anybody that meets me, oh, what's your name again? It's like, doesn't matter. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late to dinner.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah, man.
I wish I had a recommendation for you in Houston. I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know of any good restaurants, but I hope you find a good.
Well, you honestly can't miss in Houston. You walk outside your door, go to Whataburger. I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a Texas thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the food in Texas is just amazing.
Well, I go into depression when we leave California because In-N-Out is, in my opinion, that's the best burger joint.
No question. Yeah.
Oh, we're in agreement on that. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's heresy. Who was it? Someone the other day. Something I had an In-N-Out burger. I just didn't think much of it, and I was like, we can't be friends. I don't even know what to do. So anyway.
Exactly. It's kind of like right.
So anyway,
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
God bless you,
man.
Matthew. Keep doing what you're doing, and talk to you later.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Bye now.
Yep. Take care.